Hey guys, welcome back to my training series where I create a program and then follow it in real time, showing you guys my specific insights into the way I designed it and why I do what I do. We're following Hypertrophy 1.0. This is week 4, day 3. We're doing legs again, and this is going to be one of the hardest leg sessions of the whole program because in this day we go up from 3 sets to 4 sets on not only the Smith machine back squat, but also the dumbbell Romanian deadlift. So it's going to be a lot of volume. It's going to be very, very taxing. And therefore, I'm keeping the weights the same because since we're already by nature increasing our volume just inherently. So I'm just going to try and get through this to the best of my ability, and we're just going to try our best. I especially love the Smith machine back squat because I feel like you can take it way closer to failure without any backfiring at all versus something like a free weight squat. With a free weight squat, you're always kind of worried, oh, if I fail, are the safeties going to catch me properly? Do I have a spotter? You got to go from A to Z and make sure everything's in order. With this, if you feel like you can't complete a rep, you can always rack it at any point in the movement. So I think that it's just easier by the nature of trust to be able to sink into the hole, do every single rep, and get close to failure without any problems. Let's do set number 1 of 4. Oh, feeling a bit more fatigued today. I think that's just the nature of increasing our volume each and every week. By the time you get into the latter half of the weeks in a program like this, you're going to naturally be more fatigued. That's not necessarily a bad thing, though. In fact, that's what we want. We want to build up fatigue and then dispel it by taking a low deload week or just regressing in the volume, which we're going to do both. All right, we're on to set number 3. So far, it's felt pretty good. I'm already starting to feel it to a large degree. I don't know if you guys are the same way, but when I'm doing super deep squats, like as far as my anatomy will allow, I just feel in every single corner of the musculature. Like it feels like it's going to explode or something. And I almost feel like I get a ton of fatigue and almost like delayed onset muscle soreness almost immediately after, even though I don't normally feel it until the next day. It's probably just that huge sense of fatigue. But anyway, we just got 2 more sets of this, and this is the primary lift for today. It's probably the hardest one. So once we're through this, then the rest of, I'm not going to say that the rest of the workout is a cakewalk, but it's definitely easier. Yeah. I don't know if you guys are the same way, but when I'm doing squats like that, I can kind of preferentially target different areas of my legs depending on how I'm pushing the weight up. I can definitely hold my ground, really brace myself in mid-center of mass. I seem to get more quads. If I kind of lean back and thrust a bit, I'll get a lot more glutes. And that makes sense because of the function of these two muscle groups. All right, guys, last and final sets. Of course, it would be the final set as the last set. Last sets, also final sets of Smith machine back squat. It's been a strong. Okay. About time. That was good. Definitely feel that tomorrow. All right, guys. Now, I am up to 4 sets on the dumbbell RDL, but I'm still deciding to go up 5 pounds because 2 weeks ago I was up to 110, and then last week I dropped it down to 100 just to work on my form. So now I'm going to kind of meet midway. I would go back up to 110, but we are doing 4 sets. So I think that 105 is completely reasonable. So I'm going to do this one with great form. And there's something that I have on my mind right now, and that's to do with bulking. A lot of people swear by bulking and cutting to get in the best shape that they possibly can. My only issue with bulking cutting is that you do have to change your body. You do have to add quite a bit of body fat in order to bulk properly, and then you have to shred it off later. And I think that that can just mess with people's opinion of themselves in terms of like they can develop body dysmorphia or it can be exacerbated. And while I completely agree with that, I still do think that bulking and cutting is the best way to go if your goal is to gain substantial amounts of muscle. If you just want to be lean and in relatively good shape and have like some good muscle tone, then I don't think you have to do many bulks. You could just main gain. And main gaining is just eating like at maintenance calories and just trying to put on muscle. It's totally possible, but your results are going to be much, much slower because your body doesn't like to put on muscle when it doesn't have an abundance of resources. In order to give them your body those resources, you have to eat in a caloric surplus of at least like 100 to 500 calories. So right now I am intending to bulk up. With all that being said, I am still going to bulk because my goal is to get jacked and in really good shape. It's always been a goal of mine, so we're actually going to try it to the best of my ability. So I probably will be adding some body fat, but that just comes with the territory, you know. You gotta, if you're gonna do it, then you have to go into it with the mindset of, I'm gonna be putting on body fat, and that's okay. You know, it's only a short-term thing, and who cares if you put on a little bit of extra body fat when you're gaining muscle as well? You know, I think that it's a completely valid trade-off. It does suck when you develop stretch marks and stuff like that, but just don't do it too fast and you won't have that problem. Anyway, let's get into this lift. We'll do the first set of RDLs. Okay. In addition to what I was saying about bulking, honestly, on like the flip side of the coin or whatever, we have cutting, and cutting comes with its own host of issues as well. I mean, it sucks to be cutting. Well, cutting body fat is amazing because it unveils all of your hard work and progress. The only like emotional turmoil that I find with it is you still have to hit the gym just as intensely as you were when you're bulking. However, you know that you're putting on very little or no muscle mass at all during that time. It's literally like its own phase of training where you're just trying to reap all of the rewards that you want to show from your bulking. So even though I have my quarrels with how it's traditionally done, I don't think that there's any other better method. I mean, it is the way that you have to do it if you want to get the most results you possibly can. Now, of course, as I mentioned earlier, you can main gain, but that's not going to be as fast as bulking and cutting. It just won't be, you know? So pick your poison. Do you want to have to add body fat and then shred it off later? It's tedious, it's annoying, but you're going to be making way more progress? Or do you want to make very slow and steady progress, but honestly, you have no idea if it's going to really pay off because it's so slow. However, you don't have to deal with adding on body fat and then shredding it off like you're a bear or something that's going into hibernation. It just depends on your goals. That's how I see it. You know, if your goals are to get as jacked as possible, you got to bulk and cut. If your goals are just to, look good and make like incremental small progress of your patient person stuff, then main gaining is probably your friend. Are there other forms of adding muscle and dieting that I'm forgetting about? There might be. If there are, let me know. I'm sure that there are. But are there any forms that are as successful as those two? I don't know. Oh, forgive me there. I don't have access to a mirror because of where I'm doing this particular exercise, so I use my camera, the little viewfinder, or wait, is it viewfinder? Little screen comes out, has a reflection. Look at my form. Doing RDLs without a mirror is very, very strange to me because I've just been used to it the whole time. That brings up another point that I've thought about quite a bit is a lot of people rely on using a mirror to make sure that their form is the best that it can be. But when you don't use a mirror, you don't have that feedback. So what do? You gotta listen to your body, see how your body feels. But, that comes to the thought process of, is your form better without using mirror because you'll have more connection to your muscles? Or is using a mirror better because you have the visual proof? For the third set of this lift, I am going to not use the screen. Even though I still have it pointed out, I'm just going to try and focus on my body and see if I like that more. For the first set, it felt kind of awkward. But I think that may have just been the first set woes, so to speak. I think the first set of any exercise is always going to be kind of a bitch. Part of my language, kind of challenging. I feel like it kind of felt and looked the same. except there's no crink in my neck because I wasn't, like this. I am substantially more lightheaded. That's probably because of exterior factors, though. Because it's crazy. I've had these straps since I was like 17, 18. All right, guys, this is the last set of the dumbbell Romanian deadlifts. I'd say that they've been pretty good sets. I think that the sets that I performed last week were a little better. But like I said earlier on this particular day, by week 4, you're pretty fatigued. You know what I mean? We've been increasing volume every single week, and now I'm feeling it. I mean, I came here later than usual just because I felt so burnt out. I slept a very long time. And that kind of brings me to the topic of recovery. Recovery is probably just as important, if not more important, than what you actually do with your training here. It's almost like less is more when it comes to recovery, because you got to factor in everything. Are you going on a hike with your friends? Are you staying up late partying? Are you standing all day? I mean, not even just physical activity outside of the gym plays into recovery, but also stress levels, how much you're sleeping, how much you're socializing, how much sunlight you're getting. It's just a cocktail of so many different variables it's just impossible to track and keep under wraps. So I think just the best thing you can do is make sure that your nutrition is on point, make sure your sleep is on point, and then don't do anything crazy during the day or the night that'll mess you up. At least not all the time. Of course, you got to live a little, but if your training is really important to you, if this whole deal that we're doing here is important to you, then act like it. Don't go too crazy outside of the gym. Don't do anything. You guys know what'll mess up your recovery. It's obvious. Okay. All right, guys, I'm skipping the order a little bit. I'm mixing it up. A slight twinge. Instead of going from the dumbbell RDL and straight into the walking lunges with the dumbbells, I'm skipping onto the soleus raise, the seated calf raise machine. Just calf raises by nature of how small a range of motion they are and how they're like some smaller muscle groups. A smaller muscle group, it doesn't require as much effort to perform the lifts, and therefore it usually doesn't accumulate as much fatigue. So I'm okay with kind of having this a little bit earlier on in this training program, especially this day, because of how I'm feeling. Additionally, I decided to go to this instead of the walking lunges because the gym is getting busier. There's not really a good spot to do it quite yet. At least it hasn't cleared yet. And sometimes when you're in the gym and what you want to do is take in, you got to improvise. You either got to shuffle things around or change the lift a little bit or just wait. And I'd rather not just wait around. I prefer not to do that, especially since I go to the gym, 90%, 80% of the week, of the days in the week. I go 6 out of 7 days. So, I don't want to be spending more time than I already am, but I want to get as many gains as I possibly can, and therefore I'm doing it this way. So we'll get to the walking lunges later, and if the gym is still busy, then I'll just do it off camera. That's how I'm going to be doing the seated hamstring curls again, and that's how I'm going to be doing the seated knee or the quad extension exercise as well. I'll be doing those off camera most likely, just for this day. But that's okay, because You guys got the meat and potatoes. You got the good stuff. You got. I filmed the heavy hitters, the squats and the RDLs, which are the ones that really matter, in my opinion. That's gonna get you most of your gains. The other stuff is just icing on the cake, icing on the cupcake. Okay. By the way, I'm keeping the weight the same on this exercise. So we're at, I believe this is 130. So it's a 45 on each side and then 2 10s on each side. With something like a soleus raise of this caliber, I don't think it's super necessary to be like maxing out. In fact, at the gym that I used to work at, there's this guy who had maxed out on literally every machine, pec deck, preacher curl machine, not even the plate loaded one. You know, lying hamstring curl, prone hamstring curl. Every single machine that guy would max out on. And there's just certain exercises that lend themselves better to maxing out than others, like the preacher curl, bicep curl machine. That's an exercise that I wouldn't ever imagine maxing out on. Sure, if you want to do that, if that's what gets you going, if that's what gets you into the gym, then do it, But I think that there's some injury risk. You're going to tear a freaking bicep, you're going to tear a tendon doing something like that, I think that honestly, there's like a correlation between the more muscle groups that you use in a lift and the easier it lends itself to being maxed out on. Like the more it makes sense to max out on. Like, for example, people love to max out on deadlifts. That's powerlifting in a nutshell. That's one of the big three. And there's a reason why it's so notorious for that sport. And I think it's because of how many muscle groups are being used, how many joints are being utilized versus something like the machine preacher curl or the machine pec deck. You don't see people maxing out on that. I think it's for a reason. Okay, set number 2. We're doing 5. I love that we made it up to week 4 doing this much volume. 20 sets per muscle group is like the gold standard. You're going to be making a shit ton of gains. But doing 10 sets for a muscle group in one day is starting to get to the limits of how much I think the people can handle. And that's where frequency comes into play. Once you start getting over a certain threshold of sets in a given day, that's when you want to start being like, maybe I should tack on another day in a given week for this body part. Instead of hitting legs twice a week like we're doing on this week, let's add a third day. But once you get to a certain point, that's when you have to start being like, okay, I need to shorten on the volume of this body part, less chest volume, more quad volume, because you can only recover from so much total volume in a given week. You know what I mean? So there's certain parameters that need to be in play for sure. It's something that you constantly need to play around with and figure out for yourself. For this program, Hypertrophy 1.0, I tended to use averages. We see from so many countless studies that 20 sets is like that upper limit of where people are making a shit ton of progress and gains. But if they run it for too long or they go much over it, it becomes more taxing than what it's worth. Okay, set number 4. Let's go. You know, all that talk kind of brings me to the topic of effort and consistency. Anybody can, any schmuck, you know, any regular Joe can go into the gym and hit a 3 hour super intense workout one time. But how many people hit a 3 hour super intense workout day after day, day in, day out, week after week, month after month, year after year? You know what I mean? Virtually nobody. And honestly, like with a 3 hour workout, you don't need that much. What I'm trying to say is that anybody can go really hard for one day, but how many people do you see put in that work year in, year out until, eventually the day that they die? You know what I mean? Sorry, I mean to make it so dark, but if you want to be great and you want to see progress, you gotta be putting in that effort more days than not. You can't just show up one day a week, go balls to the wall for 3 hours and expect there to be notable changes. That's just not the way that the body works. If you want your body to change, you have to give it a reason. You have to give it a reason to change. Let's give it that reason, shall we? Step 5. All right. Okay, guys, up next, we're going to finish off the calves here. We got 5 sets of the unilateral dumbbell calf raises. I'm going up 5 times. We're going up to 40. And before you guys laugh, this is really challenging because you're putting all your body weight on one leg, on one calf. And you're using just your calf to lift your whole entire body weight. So when you add 40 pounds, you're adding your body weight plus 40 pounds. So it's actually very, very difficult. I'm going to aim for just as many reps as last time. But of course, we're going to a failure. So if it's too easy, I'll keep going. Okay, I got 10 there. I'll take it. That's fine. Okay, another 10. And honestly, when I'm doing any unilateral lift, I'm doing one side at a time, I tend to just make it the same as the other side, just kind of inherently. Maybe that's just a mindset thing where I hit, if I hit 15 reps on like my right bicep, then I just tend to stop at 15 on my left, even if that side could have done a little bit more. I think part of me just wants to keep it even though I think that that's probably not how you should be doing it. Ideally, I think that you should probably just be going to failure on each side. And then over time, your body will make the adjustments and, your strength levels are going to even out eventually. That's what I believe. I don't really know any data to back that specific theory up, but I think it makes sense. What I'm trying to say is just because you're stronger on one side doesn't mean you should just match the reps. You should go to a failure or near it no matter what. Same RPE in other words. Shit. It's getting tough, especially doing in this order. I usually start with this calf exercise and then finish with the soleus raise. By the way, I was going to mention, I never really felt it before, but because that was 5 sets of the soleus raise and I was really taking it intensely, I think. I could feel just it working the soleus instead of the gastroc. Like I felt the sensation and the fatigue and the burning in one side over the other. And I've never actually felt that difference before. I've just felt like, oh, I'm working my calves. But it is true that the seated calf raise pretty much exclusively hits the soleus. And now I have like anecdotal proof, with myself. Okay, set number 3. Last 2 reps were a little questionable. I got 10. And we got 2 more sets to go for the standing calf raise. It's crazy doing as many sets of calves. Back in like the first half of my lifting journey, I definitely did not definitely did not perform enough calf raises, It was just kind of an afterthought. It was something that was tacked like 3 sets on the end of each leg day. Well, if you're hitting legs twice a week, which I often wouldn't even do that, it'd be like 1.5 times a week or once. If you're only doing that, you're hitting like 3 to 6 sets of calves max. That's enough to maybe grow a little bit if you're very new to training. Or if you just want to maintain the size that you have, if you want to maintain your physique. But in order to grow new tissue when you've been doing it for a couple of years, that's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it by half. I'd say at the very, very bottom end of the range, 12 sets per week. And if you're only doing 3 sets of calves and you're only hitting it 1 to 2 times a week, you're only hitting 3 to 6 sets. So you're barely even getting half the amount of volume to even start seeing growth. So that's why we're doing so much. All right, guys, just one more set. I will say this is the secret. This is the golden ticket to getting ginormous calves. Get fat. Increase your body weight a shit ton. Part of my language, right? A living heck ton. Increase your body fat, your body weight, in other words. When you increase your body weight, then guess what muscle you used primarily to walk around on? Your calves are responsible for plantar flexion. So, raising your heel off the ground, you have to do that whenever you take a step. So when you have all that additional body weight, then your calves inherently have to perform more work each and every day just walking around. So the more you weigh, the bigger your calves are going to become in order to just move you about your day. So look at any person that's relatively larger. Look at their calves. Guarantee they're bigger than yours. They're bigger than mine, that's for sure. But I'm not wanting to use that cheat code to get calves. I want to do it this way, the training way, where I train my calves directly and make them hypertrophy. One more set, guys. Half a set, rather. Oh yeah. Okay. that's that for that exercise. I think that this is going to do it. Unless I can find a good spot to do walking lunges in this very, very busy gym. It's like 4 or 5 p.m. This is prime time. So I doubt that I'll be able to find it. But, in case I can't, then have a good one, guys. I hope you enjoyed week 4, day 3. This is the final week. And then we're going to be, looking back on it, doing an overview, and then creating a new and improved program from everything that we've learned, So hope you guys enjoyed this one. Have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow for week 4, day 4. Another push day.